One of the difficult things that we may not want to face as Christians is where the church is lacking in substance, where the church is lacking in reality. And I think this is something that many of us can feel and experience, but we don't know exactly what to call it. We can't really put our finger on it. And this is where the church is, we are meant to be light and salt, but we're not. We're not really light and salt, even though we're Christian and we're, doing the things that, we're told to do. We're not really becoming a people who are truly good, who are truly righteous, who are pure. And in fact, what's sad is like so many people become Christians and it's so hard. It's just so hard for me because they're not really made better. A lot of times people are made worse. They're made worse because they start serving a system. They start serving a system in God's name and an ideology, a system, a thought, and they set themselves to that and they give themselves to that system, believing it's one and the same as giving themselves to God. And they don't see how the two are different, and they therefore bear fruit of that system rather than of Christ and what is truly of Him. And there's so much that comes in that hijacks the faith, the true willingness to follow God, and puts them on this train called Christianity that's not truly of God, not right. It's a cultural it's the system of this religious age. It's the system of the church, the ideology of the church. And people live and serve that rather than Christ, and they don't even realize the difference. And what's so sad is how lacking in substance we are as Christians. This is such a testimony against us. If we would only face it and listen and learn, that we're so lacking in wisdom, we're so lacking in reality, in understanding, and so much of our religion is just turning into an unreality, a fanaticism, a harshness, a meanness, people really just serve a system of these are the 4 sins that God's talking about, and they live and they live for conspiracy theories and strife and arguments and all these other things in the name of God, but they aren't actually bearing the fruit of godliness, of light and salt, and there's so many people who are being led away when they've had such a real willingness to follow and obey God, and they're taken in that sincerity, and they're just put on this train of Christian ideology, and they just live on that train, and then they begin to serve it, they begin to preach it, and then they hijack more people and put them on that train. And it's one of the worst things happening in the church. It's horrific, and the devil's never had more success ever than doing this, and by having this name of this is God, this is Christianity, and getting people to fear that so much that they bow the knee and they kiss the ring, and they don't resist that. They don't see how dangerous it is to just give your obedience to that and say it's one and the same with God. And the outcome of this is such a lack of real wisdom. It's a lack of real righteousness, of real goodness. There is always a pretense. There's always an idea. There's an ideology of oh, this is good, this is meaningful, this is merciful, this is grace, this is the gospel. There's an ideology, but that ideology, when it's put to the fire and tested, is really vapid. It's really empty and vain. It's also harmful. It's cruel, and it's going to be so many of the ideas that are actually been produced from the heart of man as an ideology about God, and people live and serve that. And that should really show us just what sin is actually like. When we follow this and we see the outcome of it, it's such a lesson and a testimony to sin and what sin is like, and how we can be so convinced of something and so deceived about what is good and serve it, and then see wow, I was fully convinced. I was fully convinced that that was good. And I was foolish, and I had no idea how really stupid I am, you know, and I'm speaking from experience on that. But that's the thing, is so many people don't get to that point. They don't learn their foolishness. They don't really learn their sin. Oh, we give lip service all day long about, oh, I'm a sinner saved by grace, but we don't truly learn our own foolishness, and we don't really learn our own sin. And that's what this wonderful train does, is, oh, you're on this pathway with God, and everything's going good for you, and you don't actually ever really learn your own wickedness, and you don't learn your own sin, because this really gets in the way of doing that.